Following the successful capture of Acre in the summer of 1191, King Richard I of England, known as Richard the Lionheart, turned his attention southward. His goal was the vital coastal city of Jaffa, a key strategic position that would serve as a necessary springboard for any attempt to reclaim Jerusalem. Aware of its importance, Saladin, the Sultan of Egypt and Syria, had already destroyed Jaffa's fortifications in 1190 to deny it to the Crusaders. Richard assembled a formidable army for this campaign, around 2,000 mounted knights and 10,000 to 12,000 infantry, including spearmen, archers, and crossbowmen. In response, Saladin, determined to halt any advance on Jerusalem, mobilized his own massive force, nearly 25,000 troops drawn from across his empire, including cavalry, skirmishers, and elite Mamluks. As the Crusader army departed Acre on August 22nd, 1191, Richard demonstrated remarkable logistical foresight. His troops moved slowly, only 5 to 6 kilometers per day, along the coast to avoid fatigue in the sweltering summer heat. The sea guarded their right flank, while fresh water stops were carefully planned. A fleet of support ships followed the army along the coastline, ferrying supplies and evacuating the wounded. Richard's decision to rotate infantry units and restrict marches to the cooler hours of the morning ensured the army remained alert and combat ready. Despite constant harassment from Saladin's horse, archers, and skirmishers, discipline under Richard's leadership held firm. These hit-and-run tactics, however, failed to significantly slow the Crusader advance. By early September, Saladin realized he would need to commit his entire force in a full-scale battle if he hoped to stop the march. The perfect opportunity came near the forest of Arsuf, one of the few wooded regions in central Palestine. The forest ran parallel to the coastline, providing a natural screen for Saladin's troops. From behind the cover of trees, he could launch a surprise assault on the Crusader column. On the morning of September 7th, Crusader scouts began reporting enemy movement in all directions. It became clear Saladin's entire army was now in position. He ordered a general assault. "All of you, fight. Do not stop for anything. March." Saladin's army advanced in three main divisions, the left, right, and center, commanded from beneath his personal banners. He was surrounded by his elite guard and kettle drummers, a symbol of command and morale. At the vanguard were thousands of skirmishers, Sudanese archers, Bedouin foot soldiers, and Turkish horse archers. Behind them, squadrons of armored cavalry, including Kurdish Mamluks and warriors from Egypt, Syria, and Mesopotamia, stood ready to strike. As Saladin's forces emerged from the tree line, Richard's army quickly shifted into a defensive formation with their backs to the sea. Infantry were placed at the front, archers and crossbowmen just behind, and the mounted knights and baggage train securely positioned in the rear. Richard's careful marching order now paid off. Despite the intensity of the sudden assault, his army stood firm, absorbing waves of arrow volleys from Saladin's archers. Many Muslim horsemen dismounted to improve their aim with lighter bows, unleashing a constant barrage to break the Crusader lines. Yet Richard refused to be baited into a reckless counterattack. He kept his Hospitaller Knights stationed at the rear under strict control, knowing that charging too early would expose the entire column to encirclement, just as had happened disastrously at the Battle of Hattin 4 years earlier. It's unclear whether this charge was driven by desperation, rage, or simply a breakdown in communication, but the moment electrified the battlefield. Nearby, Crusader, infantry, and knights, seeing the Hospitallers engage, began joining the charge in unison. Now the full might of the Christian heavy cavalry surged into the heart of Saladin's army. Clad in armor, wielding lances and swords, the knights crashed into the enemy lines, cutting down their foes with brutal precision. Even Richard himself is said to have fought in the thick of battle. Caught off guard by the sudden counterattack, Saladin's formations began to waver. The organized ranks of his front line collapsed under the pressure, and many of his lighter cavalry units broke ranks and fled. The momentum had decisively shifted. Crusader forces pushed forward, gradually encircling Saladin's central command, where the Sultan and his Mamluk bodyguards fought to hold the line. Faced with mounting casualties and disorder within his army, Saladin gave the order to retreat. His remaining forces withdrew through the forested hills behind Arsuf. Though battered, Saladin managed to regroup and avoid total destruction, but the field belonged to Richard.
The Battle of Arsuf marked a major Crusader victory. Although exact numbers vary, Christian sources claimed around 7,000 Muslim dead, with Richard's own losses numbering fewer than 700 men. Chronicler Ambrose noted that thousands of Saracen bodies were left behind on the field as the Crusaders marched onward. More importantly than the casualty count, however, was the psychological blow to Saladin's forces. The myth of Muslim invincibility, forged at Hattin, had been shattered. The disciplined advance, Richard's tactical command, and the timely counterattack had turned the tide. Jaffa would soon fall to the Crusaders, placing Richard one step closer to Jerusalem.